to be entered into the Stardew Valley painting done by Chickadee139. Please select the reward when you're checking out, and you will be entered into the raffle to draw that. It is lovely. The colors are very wonderful, and should be back online with Willow once they join the Discord once again. There we go.
Here we are.
All right.
All should be better now. While I was in the middle of fixing it, my Discord crashed. So that was great timing. I think this should all... I should have fixed both issues now, I think.
All right, we'll leave it to tech to get that synced up, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, while we have a minute, I can go over some more general stuff here. Like I said, we're using Turbo, but there's a lot of other little nuances going around. One of the main things that you're going to see me do a lot is slide past ledges, which it's not too big of a deal, but when you slide past a ledge, you can get a sort of little bit of downwards movement before you're strictly speaking off the ground. And so that's going to let you go down faster. So we're going to be doing that all over the place. Activating respin, i.e. when you're just falling normally, transitioning to falling in the spinning salto state, because that's going to make us reach peak downward momentum faster than falling normally. How are we doing here? I'm just...
I think we're ready to head off again when you are.
Okay, great. Well, we chose a good spot to interrupt because there's just kind of another one of these Adam cutscenes here where we have to talk to our robot friend, so that's good timing. Yeah, I can keep going.
Yes.
Good. Okay, excellent. So, brief interruptions aside, entirely my fault, apologies. Like I said, we're going to slide off of ledges like right there. I'm going to be doing a lot of that, but we're also going to use the dash melee attack to go off of some ledges. Which one is better in a given context depends on a lot of factors, but we're going to be doing both in a bunch of different places. We're also going to use the dash melee to go through doors on occasion because some transitions, there's a little window of loading where it stops you from having to go through the sort of slowing down at the end of the dash melee. And so it's faster to just get that initial burst of speed while you're heading into the door. We're going to be doing a lot of that sort of thing. Ooh, should not have gotten hit by those little fish. That was very silly of me.
It's okay. You got it refilled from them. All right, the status trick here. You can see the slide jump. So, but DTail is cloaking as Samus goes off the ledge. Now, doing this kind of like slows down the animation. Go. Nice, very nice. You'd like DTail said earlier, you gotta jump right at the peak of the that little slope. So if you make it at the right timing, then you're gonna get onto that ledge right there.
No, it's pretty tricky. Yeah, you can do it without the cloak as well. It's just even tighter, and I have not ever bothered to learn that. But there is a slight reroute in the early game that you can do if you know how to do that trick. I can't think of anybody that's ever seriously ran that route except for Carter. But I'm sure other people have done it as well. But that trick is much, much more difficult without using the cloak.
Right.
So speaking of the cloak, we didn't really go over that because we were too busy talking about Corpius, but that's the item that we got from defeating Corpius.
Yeah.
It allows us to turn invisible the same way that it does. So we're going to use that to go through cloak doors, which are just these doors with motion sensors on them. And so if you're invisible, then the doors don't close before you get to them, and you can advance. But the Phantom Cloak slow, what we're going to do anytime that we're heading into a motion sensor door is we're going to actually slide just before we activate the Phantom Cloak. Okay. I'm amazed I didn't get hit by that. But so that way we can preserve the speed from the slide, which is a little faster than just walking with the Phantom Cloak. So it's going to allow us to go a little bit faster through those. Here I'm going to just pick up this energy tank. We're not going to be grabbing too many of these, but we do want a few because we're going to be going through areas where we take passive damage later. And so these are going to come in real handy for that. I'm also going to pick up one extra E-tank that I normally wouldn't, just for safety.
So you're gonna pick up a total of 3?
4. I
4?
already do
Okay,
3
cool.
normally.
Okay, cool.
Bug jump? Yay, bug jump. Woo! So there's a lot of that sort of thing in this run where you have to weave between different platforms because you have a lot of control in the air in this game, as in most Metroid games. And so there's a lot of sections where there's really tight gaps between one platform and another, and then the next set, and then you're just trying to sort of weave left and right to get through them. That's going to be in this room coming up. I really suck at this one, so avert your eyes if you're a Metroid enthusiast, but
You
that
did
went
fine.
okay.
That was great.
By my standards, that's very good. So the reason we're going through this whole area is to hit this switch right here. This is going to let some thermal fuel through this whole pipe system, and it's going to open some doors, which we need to get to where we're trying to go. Metroid Dread is structured in a pretty straightforward way, where you're going through all of these different areas and looping back around and coming back to places you've already been once you've acquired new items. And every one of these areas has their own big scary killer robot called Emmys. And so the main goal in each area at the end of the day is to find a central unit, which is this big computery thing where we can absorb a bunch of power from that we can then use to kill the Emmy in that area. And that's going to give us a new ability and more progress and so on and so forth. So sort of in general, we're going to be going from one area to the next to get some kind of ability, then back to the area we were just in to use that ability to go kill the Emmy, and then get a new ability that's going to allow us access into a third new area. That's generally how things are going to go. And so right now we're just on our way to killing that first robot. If I can get Mago Skip, that is. This was going very well in practice. Oh no.
Got this.
This trick is not my favorite, but there we go.
Oh, yeah, nice.
It's
So-
basically... Oh, yeah, no, go for it.
Okay, so this part is very important. DTail has to activate the Emmy, otherwise the game won't really progress. It'll just soft lock right when you get to the central unit.
Yep.
Also, going back is a little bit. Also, mix it so that this part don't lag, or actually going to the central unit don't lag.
There we go. So the central unit mini boss fights are sort of pathetic, especially when you're able to use turbo, so it's not even, you don't even really need to mash. You just fire missiles until the armor is gone, and then regular gunfire until it's dead. And you get assaulted by SpaghettiOs, but it's really not that bad. So right here, we're on a bit of a tight cycle to shoot this Emmy, and I think I might have goofed it, but we'll see. Oh my goodness.
Oh, very nice.
That was so close.
That was nice.
So getting that strat there is pretty tight. You have to have solid movement all the way up there, and then you need to have your aim dead on right away, or else because when you shoot the Emmy with the Omega Blaster, it slows down a bunch, and so if you don't hit like the first 2 bullets, it's not going to slow down fast enough that it can just reach you before you finish shooting off its armor, which is a big problem because then it kills you.
Well, not
So-
necessarily, because then that'll just trigger like this little scene that you have to counter. Otherwise, yeah, then you're dead.
So that luckily in this particular instance, if you do get killed by this Emmy, you can just kind of go for it again. It just respawns you right back there by the central unit, so it's not that bad. And that's the case for most of these sections where we're trying to kill the Emmys. Oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to grab that, but in the sections where you don't have access to that area's Omega Blaster yet, and you're just sort of running around avoiding the Emmy, if you get grabbed there, sometimes the respawn points can be really annoying. But luckily, we won't see too much of that for a while. That's really only when we get to the third Emmy that starts to be a problem. All right, interesting muscle memory. So anyway, killing that first Emmy, we get the spider magnet, which allows us to grab onto these blue walls like you've seen me do. Sorry, I have to be quiet for a difficult thing here. Hang on. Let me just... shit. Oh, no.
It's okay.
Okay, well... Oh,
Almost.
no.
Dude.
Okay, well, I
There you
severely messed
go.
that up, but
It's okay.
you see the idea. We try to damage boost off of that enemy to get up there without needing to go through the whole elevator thing on the left side of the room, because that's really slow. This was probably just about even with just doing that the normal way. So I'll take it. Whatever. In any
Still a
case,
nice trick.
yeah, it's a fun trick to do. But the spider magnet allows us to grab onto blue walls and climb up them and wall jump around and all this stuff. So we're going to be using that constantly because those things are all over the place and they're going to allow us to get into all sorts of places. Especially into this first new area, the second area of the game, Catarus, where there's going to be a new Emmy that we have not yet killed who's going to bother us, just like there will be every time that we enter a new area. Or almost every time. In addition, this whole place is full of fire and death. So, fun! We just take a bunch of intentional damage here just to go a bit faster. Not that. I wasn't supposed to get hit by that, but it's fine. And then we talk to our good buddy Adam again. These cutscenes take a while, even with turbo mashing. So we're going to be doing a trick shortly where we're going to skip one of these. And by doing that, we break the sequence of cutscenes, and the game's not really ready for that. So it won't play all of the subsequent ones until we watch that cutscene that we skipped. But we're never going to do that, because we don't need to go to where that is by doing this skip. And therefore, we will never need to talk to Adam again from that point on, which is going to make things a lot faster. So once again, we've got these thermal fuel buttons. They're going to redirect all this thermal fuel through the pipes, opening up doors and things throughout this area. Except this time, there's a lot more buttons to press than just one. There's going to be 4 in total, although the last one, I'm still not really sure why it's there. It sits right in front of this one door, and as soon as you press the button, that door opens and nothing else happens. And it's like, that button didn't need to be there, but we'll get to that in a minute. For right now, we've just got a bunch of other buttons to press, so we're going to go through this whole area in a sort of circular way, coming back around to some places that we've already been, once we've pressed the button that allows us to advance to a different place from there. I don't think I have anything super interesting to say, but luckily, we're about to meet our next good robot friend. I have names for all of the Emmys because I'm colorblind, and so it can be hard for me to tell them apart sometimes. So in this case, this is Larry. There's an infamous clip of me interacting with this particular Emmy, saying some words that I'm not going to repeat on the marathon, but if you're at all interested in Metroid Dread and the silly things that happen in it sometimes, you can go over to my channel, and it's not hard to find. In any case, this is the second button. It's going to open up another door right down here, so we're going to fall back down to where we were before, and now looks like we're going to need to deal with Larry again. But luckily, if you know what you're doing, you really don't need to be too scared of that.
Quick note. What's the name of the white Emmy?
Maria.
Oh, okay.
I base them all on the name of the area that they're in, so they've got some sounds in common. So the Artaria Emmy is Maria, the Catarus Emmy is Larry, and so on and so forth.
I can't wait to hear the other
It's an
names.
easier way for me to remember it. Most of the Emmys I'm fine, but particularly the yellow and green Emmys tend to give me a lot of trouble telling apart. And now, I mean, I know which one's which at this point, but when I started out, I sure didn't know, so I came up with those names. We're not going to talk about what just happened. Nobody saw anything, and we're going to move on. Anyway, here's lava switch number 3 right up here. So now is when we're going to go do Adam's save skip, the trick that I described before. I'm just going to go through another last couple rooms to go over there, and then this is going to be a very tight sequence of wall jumps, which luckily you can buffer a bit, so the wall jumps themselves aren't that bad. But then we have to do a melee attack against the wall to sort of push Samus into a position she normally couldn't get to. And that part is unfortunately frame perfect, so we're going to be having a little bit of trouble for a bit. Nah, that wouldn't work. Hang on. No. I should probably be trying it anyway, though.
You got it. You got this.
Yeah. I mean, I got very good at this trick when I grinded this category for a while. Yeah, there we go. That is probably the hardest, like, single thing in this run, I want to say. At least in this route. There's a newer route with some newer tricks in it. Particularly the short boost, which is completely different. It goes through the game in a much different order. It still does this trick, but short boost is a much harder trick than this in general. Oh, yeah. Hello? Okay.
Yeah, so one thing I wanted... Yeah, that was very good. One thing I do want to note about the Adam skip, though, besides just skipping Adam, you also skip this whole loop for Catter that you have to go through. Like, it takes like about a minute to go through it. So
Adam's save skip saves like a minute up front, just in this area, and then another two
like
and a
about
half ish to 3 minutes or so on cutscene text that we don't need to watch. So it's a very important trick. In any case, hitting that button just now, that's going to activate the pump that I was just wall jumping around for doing Adam save skip. So now we can just get over it normally, which is a lot easier. But it also turned off the heat in the room above here. And so that's going to allow us to go through that room without just completely burning to death, which is great because that's where we want to go. And I like not burning to death, so we're gonna go do that right now.
Can I just shout out really quick how awesome that dodge was, by the way, on Larry?
Oh yeah, the second Larry dodge there is it looks a lot more impressive than it is. You get really used to that dodge in particular because the Emmy spawn locations are RNG, so you do have to do a little bit of thinking sometimes on where you want to move exactly. But that particular location is always the same. He just kind of sits there, and you can just jump over him and go through the door without him ever seeing you, and therefore without locking the door. You don't even, strictly speaking, need to turn the cloak on for that, because if you just jump over him, the little beam that shows where they're looking, it does pass over the top. It looks like he's looking up, but the Emmys are actually physically incapable of looking up when they're turning around, which is what he will do there if you move fast enough. So you can just jump over him without any risk and just go through the door. But I like to cloak just to be sure.
Yes, cloak does have a purpose besides moving through the door. You actually are invisible to all enemies.
Which we're going to make use of a couple times. There's one time we're going to use it to dodge another Emmy in a section coming up a while from now. And then I'm also going to use it just as a safety strat later on in a much later area at the 40-minute mark or so. So for right now, doing all of that stuff with the switches and the Adam save skip and all that got us into the third area of the game, Dyron, where we're just going to be here very briefly. We just want to pick up one little item, which we're going to need to immediately go back to Cataris and kill the Emmy that's there, like I was describing before. So we're just going to be here for a very short visit to pick up the wide beam, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It's like the regular beam, but wider, which is honestly a really nice item to have this early, because in addition to being able to open wide beam doors and wide beam boxes and all this stuff that's hard-coded to interact with it, it's also just a bigger projectile, meaning that I can be less accurate with my aim and still get more or less the same amount of damage on enemies, which is really, really helpful in a lot of places. So I'm glad that they give you this so early. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot of interesting things going on in Dyron right now. We're just turning on the lights in this area. I don't really need it to see or find my way through the dark rooms because, I know where everything is. But if you don't turn on the power generator, then this door over here physically can't be opened, so we can't get the item that's behind it. All right. Wide and chat happy, as the saying goes. So yeah, the wide beam, like I said, it's wide.
Soon you're about to meet, you're going to meet the next Emmy. And yes. What's the name of this one?
The yellow Emmy is Aaron.
Aaron, okay.
Since it lives in Dyron. And Aaron is one of the worst Emmys of the bunch. Mostly he's just got a lot of different spawn locations in some of the later rooms where we're going to see him. And so he's unpredictable more than anything. Not necessarily the hardest to dodge a lot of the time. I would say that Larry has the worst spawn locations if you're just comparing them one-to-one. But Aaron has more of them, and more of them that are at least a little annoying. So overall, I think Aaron tends to be the most annoying of the bunch.
Not only that too, Aaron has the speed booster power, so that's why
he walks really fast.
Yeah. So you got to be really quick.
Just a flat piece of ground, and you're trying to run away. You're not winning it. You have to get away from Aaron either with invisibility or by climbing around, which you're a little faster at than he is. But you cannot win a sprint against Aaron. So it's always a little scary if he spawns in a location that's a little close to you across some open ground, and it's just like, oh no. It's it's a whole mess. But usually he's pretty kind. There's one room in particular later on where he's gonna probably get in our way, but you get used to it. I know how to deal with it, so we should be fine. In any case, we won't see him for a while here, I think, because we're gonna go do some stuff in Cataris again first. This is also gonna be a fairly brief visit. We're just gonna pick up one item and then almost immediately leave again, same as we did in Dyron just now. And in this case, the item is going to be, like I said before, the item that the Emmy gives us, which in this case will be the Morph Ball, which I'm sure all the Metroid fanatics will have missed sorely in the first couple hours of this game. Because in a lot of Metroid games, it's the first item you get, or at most the second after the missiles, maybe. But in this game, it's like the 5th or something. And it takes a long while to get to this point in the game, especially if you don't do all of the speedy stuff. So that's going to be nice. The Morph Ball in this game is pretty different in the way it behaves if you're used to some of the older 2D Metroids, where there's a lot of like little movement things that the Morph Ball does when you're sliding around with it, jumping with it. All of these little nuances, and so we're not going to use the Morph Ball too much because sitting in Morph Ball is generally slower than just walking. But one notable use for the Morph Ball is it makes you small, so we can go through little tunnels. And in those instances, there's going to be a lot of turning into the Morph Ball, turning back out of it, and sliding, and then jumping while in the Morph Ball, and all of this other movement that you have access to, depending on quite precisely the geometry of the room, because some of it will be faster in some situations. So it's a bit funny looking and easy to mess up, because it's a lot of buttons to press all at once. And we're going to get our first taste of that right here. There's this little tunnel in the bottom left that I'm going to go at, and if I get it just right, I can actually roll pretty much just from midair into the tunnel, but it's very tight timing.
You got that one.
Oh yeah, I did get that one. That's something we're gonna do a lot. Where if there's a little Morph Ball tunnel like just above the ground, we're gonna just slide while on the ground and then turn into Morph Ball, because that gives you this extra little burst of speed, and then jump while we're in the Morph Ball to retain that speed going into the tunnel. That's faster than just sort of climbing into it, like what we're gonna do here, where there's this long animation of Samus turning into the ball. It's a lot faster if you do it out of slide. So anyway, like I said, we're immediately leaving Cataris again now that we have that, because with the Morph Ball, we can use this warp portal to get back to Artaria, the first region, and go get our next item, and then immediately leave again. I think you're starting to see the pattern here. There's going to be a lot of that, and unfortunately, Metroid Dread has really long loading zones. Like really long.
Yeah.
So a lot of this run is going to be staring at Samus evaporating and reforming, or listening to elevator music, or whatever other mode of transport we can get our hands on.
Yeah. One thing about the loading screen too, they are affected by what version of Dread you're playing, which is very interesting. If you're playing the physical version, it's slower. If you're playing the digital version, it's a little faster. So
I missed
it's
that.
kind of interesting, yeah, how that works. So
I used to run on a physical version, because I tend to get physical copies of games first, if not just at all. But then I realized, like, oh hey, I do want to get more serious about this game and really put some time into it. And so I looked more into it, and I found out about the loading time difference, and I was like, oh, well, shit. So then I paid $60 for it again. So I sold my physical copy to a friend to get some money back, and then I bought a digital copy as well, which runs a lot faster. The load zones on this are about 23 seconds most of the time, though there is variance.
Yeah.
Depending on which load zone. It's not particularly inconsistent. It's just some load zones are faster than others for various reasons. But but on the physical, yeah, that went very smoothly. No, you're right. No, props to me.
Yes, props to you.
No, but on the physical version, it's more like an average of 30-ish. So you lose a lot of time running on physical, because there's a lot of loading zones in this game. There's going to be one section in particular later on where it's just loading zone after loading zone. It's super silly. Anyway, for going through that whole section of fire and death and stress, we get a suit that protects us against those things. Well, not stress, but stress against fire and death, maybe. So the Varia suit is going to protect us from heat, like what's in this room. It's just a big orange glow in the background, you can tell very easily. And so we're going to use that to explore a little bit further in Cataris, which is generally the region of fire and death, like I said. and make our way to our next boss fight and our next item, after which we will immediately leave Cataris. Say it with me. So that's the plan for right now. Let me think anything else to comment on here. A lot of the movement that you saw just now was the stuff that I've been describing this whole time: sliding off of ledges, meleeing where it's faster, turning into the morph ball at the right time, activating respin. And so the movement in this game is a lot like that because it's so vertical that you're constantly weaving in all of these techniques where they're required, and then you land on another platform again, and then it's a different context where you want to do a different thing. And so the APM in this game is sort of ridiculous. You press a lot of buttons, and your hands are just constantly going, especially because a lot of the time you just want to point your gun at things as well as doing everything else. So I haven't actually done it yet, but I was thinking to do some streams of this with hand cam because it's really silly looking. Sometimes your fingers just have to fly. And it's very, very cool, honestly. It's one of the reasons I like this game so much, is because you get to there's a lot of expression in just the way that you move in this game. It's not as like clear cut of just like, yeah, this is by definition gonna be faster. There's optimal strats for things, but there's a lot of self-expression to it as well. And it's just, I really like that about this game. Anyway, Kraid.
Great.
Kraid is very loud. He really doesn't like being shot in the mouth, which, I mean, I understand, but you know, you can be a little less bothersome about it. That was an extremely fast Kraid one. My goodness. That was just about textbook.
Very
Okay,
nice.
well, whatever.
That's a
There
good.
is a strat you can do there where if he does that attack, which is random, then you can just jump up those projectiles instead of the ones that he shoots in the forced sequence after you shoot his belly enough. And that's a little bit faster if he does the attack soon enough, which he did there. But I was shooting him so fast because of the turbo that I actually interrupted him mid-attack. And so I wasn't able to get all the way up there off of those platforms, unfortunately. But that's okay. This has been an extremely good Kraid fight by my
Yeah, that
standards.
was super fast. Like it
very
was so hard to
fast.
explain.
Yeah.
It was too fast to explain the full-on fight and everything.
Honestly, to be fair, that's
Okay.
usually the case because the Kraid fight actually has a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things we're thinking about all at once. This was actually pretty simple. He gave me very easy patterns to work with.
Yes.
But depending on what he chooses to do, it can be a lot
you had
harder or a
favorite.
lot easier.
Yeah, I was watching that. As a lot of us were watching the fight. The fight was very favorable in your position. So yeah.
No, that was really, really good RNG, which is one of the reasons why it went so fast. So anyway, once again, we're kind of glossing over the item we got for that, and we've already used it like 4 times. This is the diffusion beam. It's an upgrade to the charge beam, which we got way earlier in the run. I don't think we even really commented on that. Oops. But the charge beam does what you'd expect. You charge up your beam and it's bigger and stronger. The diffusion beam makes it so that charge beam shots also explode on impact, and that explosion goes through walls. So it's not the biggest radius, so we're still going to be doing that pseudo wave glitch from earlier where we can shoot through walls a couple times more. But a lot of the time, like right here, the diffusion beam is more than enough.
One thing I want to note too, like you'll see DTail move Samus in a way that, like, for example, spin jumping and charging at the same time. If you release the charge during a certain point in the spin jump, then you get your early charge shot. Anyway, this is a very important trick too. There we go. Nice.
It's not very difficult, luckily, but it is extremely important to the route that we do that. And if you mess it up on that second jump of the 2, you don't have enough energy at this point to make it back to safe land while you're in the lava. So you just kind of die and have to try again. And that loses like 30 seconds or so.
Oh yeah.
I think it's like 35 seconds-ish.
Okay.
But it's pretty bad. And you can also die the same way on the way back. So here's hoping I don't do that. In any case, that trick is called Early Grapple because it's going to allow us to go back into Artaria via this elevator to pick up the Grapple Beam, which is an item that's going to be very important from here on out. There's Grapple Beam doors that we just need the Grapple Beam to open, and so having this thing a little bit earlier is going to let us get into some areas we're not supposed to yet and continue to sequence break the shit out of this game. If you haven't played the game, it might not be terribly obvious how out of sequence we already are, but it's pretty bad. We're doing a lot of stuff that we really shouldn't be. Particularly this grapple beam. Like I said, this is one of the biggest sequence breaks in the game. And so we're gonna swing around with it and open doors with it, and also grab onto the spider magnet surfaces with it to go a little bit faster in some rooms like this, which is
Speaking
also
of
great.
sequence breaks, there's going to be like I think so. There's this sequence break here, and then there's another one. A few rooms, or not room. I'm sorry. A few areas after.
Yep.
Like it kind of contradict what you said earlier about like it's kind of straightforward in a way, but like you can actually,
we're sort of breaking it.
yeah.
No, but in any case, now with the grapple beam, we're just going to go back up the way we came, because like I said, we need to do that trick again that I just did to get here, early grapple. So I like to call this late grapple because it's just early grapple but backwards. It's a little easier than forwards because you can just slide on that slope instead of having to do a slide jump in midair the way that we did earlier. But it's still a little dicey. I wasn't supposed to fall there, but luckily it's close enough to this side that I can just make it out no problem. And we can move on. So I'm going to go through here. And now we're going to go over to the left side, where we're going to do some more stuff with the grapple beam. Oh, okay. So yeah, what I'm doing there on the doors where I'm like, messed that up, where I'm spinning around in front of them is those are charge beam doors. So I need a charge beam shot to open them. And like Echo said earlier, when you're spinning with a spin jump, you can get an instant charge if you let go of the charge beam at the right time. And the same thing applies to just spinning around on the ground. So you're going to see me do that a lot, where I'm standing in front of a charge beam door and I'll just do a little dance before opening it.
And then also want to note that this is Dairon to Aaron, the Emmy, gave DTail a very favorable spawn point. It didn't even spawn right in front, so like it's nice.
That was the room I was talking about earlier, where he usually gets in your way. At the very least, you can see him, and half the time he just sees you and you have to dodge him. But we didn't even, he didn't show up. He was just not there. He was taking a lunch break. So, brilliant. These enemies have respawned, so now I need to kill them again. Kind of unfortunate, but what do you do? And that's going to get us our next major item, the bombs. So once again, in most Metroid games, you get this a lot earlier, because it's sort of a pair item with the morph ball. It's going to allow you to attack enemies while you're in the morph ball, though we're not going to use that too often. But mostly, it blows up bomb blocks. And that's a big deal, because there's a lot of bomb blocks in places, and there's also these bomb tunnels where you need bombs to start them and go to wherever they lead. So with the bombs, we can now enter a lot more areas than before as well. And we can also do a little sequence break. Whoa. With a little glitch called underwater bomb jump, which we'll get to later. But in any case, for now, we're just making our way south down through Dairon, because we want to go out the west exit, and that's all the way down here. We're going to say hi to Aaron, but in this room, he never really does anything. He's just kind of chilling up there. So that's fine. And we're going to head into the next region, which will be the very inviting and very not cold and wet, definitely not, Barinia. An arrangement of the song for which Variety did for this marathon's waiting screen for this run. So that's very cool. Barini has a bunch of different songs, but this one that we're about to hear is the one that Variety rearranged. So I recommend you all give that a listen, because it's a really good tune, and Variety deserves appreciation for that. In any case, in this loading zone, is there really a lot we can say? Be a good time for some stuff from the host if we have anything to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I have a $25 donation from our very own Kakamon Shayu. Thank you very much for that. Additionally, in light of this marathon and this run, Reducing Friends wouldn't be possible without the help of many gracious volunteer coordinators, tech experts, hosts, chat mods, etc. Special thanks go out to Jason, Perry Ghost Likely, and ADN for their time and expertise setting up RAF's technical side. You can find a list of RAF's personnel, including all runners, hosts, artists, and commentators, by typing the command !credits in chat.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Variety. So like I said, we're in Barini now. I don't need to talk to Aaron. Silly me. Or Adam. Silly me twice. That room is very fun right there. It's a lot easier than it looks, but you just punch that one guy in the face, and then you fall down right past the second guy and climb back up to him with the grapple beam. that room is a joy to do. But it's very silly looking also because you kind of get stuck in the water and then the physics goes a little wonky with the grapple beam. It's great. I love that room. In any case, we're about to do the same thing that we've been doing this whole time, where we're going to go pick up one little item from Barinia and then leave. Because luckily this particular item is right out by the exit that we want to be at. Anyway, nobody saw that either. So the next item we're picking up is extremely important. This is the flash shift. And we're not really going to be using it for like any sequence breaks or anything like that, but it is required to beat the game. And on top of that, it's very, very fast.
Yeah.
It's going to let me do this where I just sort of zip back and forth. And I can do this either left or right, but not up or down. But we can just sort of use this every couple of seconds for the rest of the run to make Samus move faster. So if you don't like the way that sounds, I have bad news for you, because you're going to be hearing that a lot. It's a good time. We can't use it underwater though, so there is that. You get a little break for now. I'm just going to shoot these fish because I don't want to deal with them later.
Sorry,
Well,
to
whatever.
clarify, you can, but not without gravity suit.
No, you can use it underwater once we get the gravity suit. At which point we'll be able to do pretty much everything underwater. But okay. But for right now, we don't have that upgrade. There is a better strat in this room where you can do a pseudo wave setup to shoot those blocks, or at least one of them, from up here or like even further up. But I don't actually know how to do that, so I'm just doing the old strat, and that's fine by me. Went okay. A lot better than I usually do on that. Right there, I used underwater bomb jumping to get up to that platform there, and it looks perfectly innocuous, but that's actually a glitch. There's a maximum height that they're supposed to be to bomb jumping underwater. On land, you can do it pretty much infinitely. But underwater, there's supposed to be a cap to the height so that you don't just go breaking the game like that. And there still is a cap if you do the glitch, but you can make it a little higher. You can give yourself just a little extra height, which is enough to make it over to that platform and skip that little section of platforming up top, which we never showed. But normally you would get the water down and then go up through the top now that there's no water and fall back down on the right side, but I'm not going to do that because it's slow. Come on, we don't do that. But I really suck at that glitch. For some reason, I can't get it ever. So I'm very surprised that went as smoothly as it did, to be honest. So right here is another instance of Aaron chasing us, and I could have moved a little bit faster down there by using the grapple beam on that blue surface on the ceiling. I actually didn't do that because if you go really, really fast, Aaron will change course and come over the right side of that platform instead of the left. And that puts him exactly where we're trying to go, which makes him a lot more of a pain to deal with. And I really don't like doing that. So I just cop the like 2 or 3 second time save there, or time loss, just to make sure that it's a little safer. Because if you do it like that, it's pretty consistent where Aaron is and he never really becomes a problem. Keiko?
Alright, so as you may notice that, I mean, if you play this game casual, this demi is fairly hard, right? However, if you position yourself like this and shoot, you're fine.
We're so fine. I'm so not worried.
It's so funny because casual play, you're like panicking and stuff, and all of a sudden like you see the speedrunner just do this, and you're like, oh, I could have done that. Darn.
No, so like Keiko pointed out earlier, Aaron's really fast. He's got the speed booster, which we're about to steal off of him, but he walks really fast along the ceiling and the floor. And so if you're trying to shoot him casually and you don't know about this setup or any of the other setups we have as backups, then he just chases you down. You don't really get a chance to take aim. You don't really get a chance to sink enough gunfire into him for him to actually get his armor broken. Yeah. And he gets really out of hand. Aaron took me like 5 to 10 attempts somewhere when I did it the first time. It's really annoying.
Do you mind if I explain speed booster?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So speed
gives
booster.
Gives me time to focus.
Yeah, speed booster is very, very nice in this game. So it takes a little bit of the concepts from, or not concept, but techniques from Fusion. So if you charge your Shine Spark and then you release it on a slope, and then you can retain your speed booster movement. And then not only that, in this game, you can slide, and then you can slide into morph while in the speed booster phase, and it's really neat. And then also you can jump. So as you can see, by jumping, you can still keep it. The only way you can get rid of it is by like stopping or if you turn around. But other than that, yeah, the developers have really improved the speed booster mechanics for Dread.
Yeah, no, it's really free form, and you can use it just absolutely everywhere, and it's so powerful that the speedrunning community has actually done tournaments before, or like I'm not sure if they were necessarily tournament format, but like competitions to see who could perform the most elaborate and ridiculous speed booster sequences without ever losing it. And there's footage of that. Oh, I just did the Gavaran thing. Oops. There's footage of that up on YouTube that you can find of those competitions, and the stuff that people came up with. It's very, very cool. You can do pretty much anything you want with this thing. It's just a lot of it is really, really difficult, and you have to get really, really good at it. So in speedruns, we don't tend to go for the really crazy stuff, although more so in things like 100% or other sort of longer categories that have the speed booster in more places than any percent does. You'll see a lot crazier stuff. Oh, shoot. Right here I am going to use the speed booster just to try to kill this boss faster, because if you hit a boss with a Shine Spark, that does a ridiculous amount of damage. So 2 Shine Sparks just dispatches that guy instantly, which is great. I'm also not very good at using the speed booster in general. I have a lot of trouble controlling it. And so that boss fight, for instance, that normally takes me like 4 or 5 tries, just like it did there. But normally you would see it just be 1 Shine Spark, 2 Shine Spark, done, if it were performed by a better runner. It's a very, very cool ability, and we're going to use it a lot, just not in necessarily very crazy ways, just to go fast, mostly.
Yeah, so like the damage
on Hundo runs with there's that one I'm thinking of one sequence in particular in Catarus Cleanup somewhere, where you speed boost Morph Ball up a wall or like up a slope, and then very quickly get a wall jump to go the other way. There's some really crazy stuff with this.
Yeah, in 100%. In 100%, no major glitches. Yeah, there's a lot of like cool speed booster movement that you can use to
we're going over here.
to traverse and stuff.
No, wait. Never mind. I'm going the wrong way, but it's fine.
You're fine. Yeah.
Basically, right now we're trying to just go back to Barinia, where we were before. Because now that we beat that boss, there was a cutscene that we skipped, but our friend, Bird Uncle, that's what everybody calls him, he...
Officially Quiet Rope.
Yeah, Quiet Rope, that's it. I couldn't remember, I was trying to hide it. No, but he pressed a little button on his console that opened up an extra route in Barinia. And so we're going to go over there and go through there now, because that's, well, where we want to go next. So we're using the speed booster a little bit in some places while we're going through these same rooms to go a little bit faster. But I was actually supposed to go a slightly different route there than I did. It's just that I learned that strat this morning. I just didn't know where to walk until this morning. So I forgot and fell back on my old muscle memory. But what do you do? We're here. That's what matters.
I want to point out the differences between Flash Shift and Speed Booster while you're you're going to perform this next Speed Booster trick.
I should focus for this one.
So Speed Booster, while it is it is mainly for speed. However, in the progress of this run, like if you Flash Shift is actually faster than Speed Booster, but in short distances. So if there's a long part of like a room that you need to go through. Very nice, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's the easy one. Time for the hard one.
And then you want to Flash Shift more so than Speed Boosting. However, like I said, the longer route or longer run of room, very nice.
I practiced that for half an hour this morning and didn't get it a single time.
You got it. Very nice.
Feels good.
All right, this is another pseudo wave shot. Very nice. Ooh.
Samus? Okay, I'm just gonna do this the casual way.
So what DTail was trying to do was trying to grab the wall over here on the right, then go to the left, and while using cloak, that was the intended trick to this room, but it's okay. This is technically the worst room in the game.
Technically, it's a pretty big room. There's a lot of stuff in this room, right? First you do that speed boost. That's still technically part of this room. Then you do the little bit of movement weaving past the platforms. Then you do the pseudo wave shot that I just performed, which is another small sequence break that skips a whole boss fight. Do a giga skip. And then you do the strat with the cloak and the grappling beam and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
But, no, what I was supposed to do there was use the cloak to be invisible so that the flying cactus guys don't shoot at you, which makes it easier to get up there. But then I ran out of juice for my cloak, and I didn't want to take a whole lot of damage, because if you don't have juice, then the cloak starts eating health instead. And I really didn't want to let that get too far, so I just said, screw it, and then just did it the casual way by shooting the cactus guys. Oh, wait, no, do not do that. Okay, we're fine.
Okay,
If I'd gone too far there, the door would have locked, but we're good, we're good.
Yeah.
I repeat, speed booster does a lot of damage to bosses, so we're gonna make good use of that against this guy too. You'll note this is kind of just the same sort of enemy that we fought before. He's just gold now, which if you've played any video game, you'll know that means he's stronger and faster and has more health and all that. But he'll still just kind of die. They're not very scary.
Yeah, so like the speed booster, it does the initial like half damage to the robot, and then but because you don't have enough room to do another shrine spark, you just gotta shoot him with missiles and charge beam.
Yep.
Or charge beam, that's what I mean to say.
I don't tend to use charge beams there, just because I'm not quite good enough at instant charges to really make it worth it. Because if you just do regular old charge shots, it's just barely faster to just use missiles. So that's what I tend to fall back on. But yeah. Anyway, time for the least useful item we're gonna get. The super missiles are really a glorified key. They do more damage than a regular missile, but they have a lower rate of fire to such a ridiculous degree that their overall DPS is actually lower. Not by much,
weird, yeah.
but a tiny bit lower than regular missiles. So we're gonna actually avoid using these to kill enemies because they're not that good at it. But you do need them to open super missile doors, and we need to be able to do that in order to beat the game in the end. So I did a dump. Don't mind me. Nobody saw anything. In any case, super missiles, we're going to use them a total of 4 times if I play it well, more if I mess up. But we've already used 2 of those times, just to be clear. Or is it 5? Wait, no, because there's 2 doors here, right? Yeah, there's 2 doors. Or is it? No, there's 3 doors. No, so it's 5 times. Fine. 5 super missiles fired. If I fire more than 5, I messed up. Super missiles are not very useful, but luckily there's another missile upgrade coming not very long from now that's going to revert our rate of fire back to its original, as well as increase the damage again, at which point the missiles will by far be our best source of damage. So that's going to be pretty nice. In any case, we are now onto a new area once again. This is Elon. And in Elon, there's actually no Emmy, which we forgot to mention, but there's also no Emmy in Barinia, probably on account of it being so wet and gray. It's kind of... don't really see why you'd want to settle there. But in Elon, there's really nobody here until you get into this room, and it's revealed that, oh no, the X-parasites have taken over this region, and it's all scary, and there's plot and things, but you know, we don't care about that. So we're just going to skip all of these cutscenes. There's like 4 cutscenes in this area that we have to skip. And we're just going to try to go fast through here. I'm going to do a bunch more morph ball movement like I was talking about when we got that item. And then we're going to go get a new beam upgrade. It's been a while. We got the wide beam all the way back in the first trip to Dyron. And now we're finally getting the plasma beam. So that's going to make it so our beam pierces through enemies. We can hit multiple enemies at once. And also significantly increase their damage, which is great. So right now, especially compared to the super missiles in particular, the plasma beam is way better for actually killing things. So we're going to be using that on this next boss fight here, or mini boss, depending on your definition, which is going to be a X-infected corpse of a Chozo soldier. It's all very dramatic. He's just going to try to stab us with his pokey stick, and we're just going to melt him because we have turbo and the plasma beam. This guy really doesn't stand much of a chance. And yeah, you do that. Yeah, whatever. You do have to parry him twice.
Yeah, yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, no, but we're going to be fighting some more of these later on that are a bit stronger, which is going to be a little more interesting. So right here, I'm going to pick up my last E-Tank, just for safety. This one's a little bit slow to grab, just because you have to wait for the bomb to explode and stuff, but it's the fastest one that we have as a backup, so that's what I'm doing. If I had ran into that enemy right there and killed it with the speed booster, there was a non-zero chance that my game would crash. So we'd just jump over that guy to avoid that happening. Not sure why that is. Some enemies in this game, if they die to the speed booster, it has a chance to crash the game, and it's very silly. I remember one clip in
I think it's been patched over.
Oh, they did finally.
Yeah,
okay, that's great. That must have been a while ago because the last patch was like months ago, but I must have missed that. No, but that's good at least. I remember one clip in particular. There's a boss later on that we like to kill with the speed booster because it's fast. Where it turned out that boss can also crash the game when you do that, or at least could before. And I remember one clip in particular, which was one of the first times that anybody ever had that happen to them very early on in the game. And it was Oates, I think, doing that boss and just staring at the camera when his game crashed, and his last save was like, forever ago because we don't save in the run. And it's just, it's so sad when it happens. Oh no.
Oh. What enemy is this now?
This is Moran. And luckily for us, Moran is a lot slower than most of their siblings and also has terrible eyesight. The range of Moran's vision is very short, and it's also very inconsistent in that, like, you have to be in that range for longer than for the other enemies to actually get spotted by it. So usually you're safe to kind of just jump around Moran a whole bunch, and it's, like, more or less okay. Right there, that was, like, the worst possible location for her to spawn in, but I made it work. Unfortunately, I then fell off some mushrooms like an idiot.
But one thing that this blue enemy has, or Moran, has is the ice beam. So
Yes.
if it does look at you, you're gonna freeze for like about a couple seconds, but you gotta shake it off as fast as you can. By the way,
Yep.
you can also use Shine Spark on the enemy core, which is very
like
nice.
you said, lots of damage that basically just instantly breaks their armor, so you can go right to wailing on the actual thing. Very fast. We're going to be doing that on every central unit we can from here, which is just sort of this and then one more. But, we'll take what we can get. And so earlier, you might have noticed I opened a door that I never went through up there, that door. I opened that from the other side. And so doing that unlocks that door and makes it a possible route for Moran to take when she's trying to chase you in this sequence. And so by setting up our movement in a particular way, we can kite Moran to go through that door, and that's going to put her right up on the ceiling there, where we can just take easy shots at her the same way that we did with Aaron before. So that's a really nice way to do that. You lose like a second on shooting that door, and then you gain like 20 by not having to jump around and kite her and being annoying. So that gives us the ice missile because Moran had the ice beam. So now we no longer need to worry about our super missiles. Our missiles are now really, really powerful and also freeze things. So we're going to be using those for killing lots of stuff. Not actually most regular enemies, just because the plasma beam is also a really good source of damage. And the plasma beam does have a faster rate of fire, as well as just faster moving projectiles, which a lot of the time is relevant because that allows you to kill enemies before you get to them, and that's generally very fast.
Okay, so I want to make a note. This is another sequence break.
Yep.
Normally you don't go to this route because you can't really do it. However, there's two tricks or one of two tricks that you can do. Which trick are you gonna do?
The wall jumps.
Nice. Okay.
No, I learned the first strat that we found for this back in the very early days, and I got very, very good at it, very, very fast. And I've since gotten pretty rusty, but I was very, very good at this when we found the second method, and I tried the second method, and I happened to really suck at that one, so I've just kind of stuck with the one that's a little bit slower, just because it's the one I'm comfortable on.
Yeah.
But the difference isn't too much. I think it's like 12 seconds or so? A bit more? Question mark? It's a reasonable amount of time, but it's not too much. Oh,
yeah.
I messed up the Shine Spark. Oh well. That's fine. That just means I have to shoot this guy like a civilized person.
So what's gonna happen? DTail is gonna go over here, and normally you can't do this without cross bomb. However, there is certain set of tricks or like movement that you have to do.
Oh
Very close,
no.
very close. So in like you notice that Samus can grab the wall or ledge like this, and then so you can jump from it.
Oh my goodness.
Then
This
lay
is-
up. If you morph at the right time and lay a bomb, then you can bomb up the thing, bomb that stuff, and then the coyote jump into that little space up and do another bomb, and then you gotta quickly do another ledge grab, bomb, and then go up the thing. And it's very tricky. As you can see, there's a little difficulty with this, but it's okay.
It's so sad. So I did a bunch of practice before we started, right? Trying to just do all the difficult tricks and stuff. And this trick, more or less like usual, was going so well. I was just doing it every time, and it was fine. And now I think the nerves got to.
Okay.
This trick is a lot harder than I usually make it look, but this is an accurate representation of what it feels like to learn it. It's a bunch of very tight jumps. Dang it. I cannot believe I'm missing this, honestly. Okay, I'm very surprised by that. Yep. And one more. There we go. Okay.
Not.
No!
Oh,
I went
what?
to it! No! So the reason that this works at all, that we can get all the way up there, is because we can land on the bomb blocks when they reform. But if you're really, really fast and you blow up all the bomb blocks really, really fast, and then you get up in there a little too early, what can happen is the bomb block below you isn't actually ready to reform yet, and so you don't have anywhere to stand on, and you have to fall back down again, and it's really, really sad when that happens. I can't hit this trick at all. This is...
You got it.
Yeah, one more. I keep messing that up. Okay, wait. There we go.
There you go. Very nice.
Okay, we're gonna forget any of that ever happened.
Like I was say though, yeah, this is a sequence trick to pick up space jump right here. Normally you can't really get it. You're supposed to pick up cross missiles. Yeah, cross missiles.
Cross bombs.
Cross bomb. No, not cross bombs. I'm sorry.
Storm missiles. Yeah.
Storm missile. Thank you. I've got the name mixed up. But yeah, you're supposed to pick up storm missiles before picking this up. But because we like to sequence break or we like to do things differently than like casually and stuff, then yeah. However, there, as I said earlier, there's two methods to getting the space jump. One, there is a fairly hard trick, which is the pseudo shot. Right above, you saw that bomb blob thing right there where you shoot through it. But as I like to say, just do whatever comfortable for you, and you'll get to it anyway.
They're not too different in terms of time, assuming that you get either of them like fairly quickly. Like the pseudo wave method is a little bit more consistent because you can just sort of set it up and it's just like a precise angle thing. There's not too many moving parts. But really it's just, again, it's whatever you're comfortable with. And I happen to be really bad at finding that angle quickly. So I struggle a lot with that method. So I tend to stick with this one.
And then this is another sequence break because normally you're not supposed to get the next item. Basically, you're going a little early. Yeah, you're kind of getting this item very early actually, as compared to what was intended. But you'll see. But right here, there's not much going on because this is just like a little run through of the route because you're not necessarily picking up any items or anything like that. You're
so
just
if the host has anything to say, now's the time.
I would actually like to turn to something that you said pretty early on in the run about sort of movement being rather self-expressive. I'm wondering how long it took you to find your personal way of doing the movement, because it's very flashy, but because there's so much idiosyncrasy, I'm wondering how much it took you to find that for you.
Well, there's not really like a point in my time running this game where I'd say like, oh, this is when I got comfortable. It's a gradual process, but I have done runs of this since it came out, more or less, like a month after release, and I spent probably about 7 months of that actually grinding it. And I'd say like just about halfway through there is like when you start to learn the more difficult things, like really weaving in all the different actions everywhere that you can, and finding places where flash shifting in one particular little spot, little visual cue that you have, or stuff like that, where that really helps you. This that starts to come sort of when you're really comfortable with the route, with the route, and you don't need to think about it anymore, and you just kind of go. Not sure why that wasn't a fast spark, but we're gonna ignore that. But it's not really like a, oh, I'm gonna do it this way, and then that's gonna show here and here and here. It's more just like you find little individual things for each room, each bit of movement, and then it ends up forming this whole big, well, hole. Like right there, actually, is a pretty good example of something that, as far as I know, is individual to me in a certain sense. Like, I know more people that do it, but it's like, you know, that's one thing where opinions differ on how to do it, which is there was that room just there where I partially flash shifted just right through it, but it's this little tunnel with these two green gassy enemies below you in the ground, and you have to slide under these two walls. Well, strictly speaking, you can use missiles to blow them up, but this is generally faster. I have a particular flash shift I like to do there, where I flash shift and I slide and I flash shift again if I can make it, which is a fairly tight cycle to do, but that's one thing that I really like to do, where other people sometimes do blowing it up with missiles and then speed boosting instead. And like, there's not a lot of time difference if you do them optimally. So like, it's whatever you're comfortable with. Just like with early space jump earlier, it's just sort of either you teach it yourself one way, or the person that you asked has one particular way that they like to do it, and you pick that up, and it's a really interesting game in that sense. And I'm comparing it to things like Zelda games, which I also run, where it's just sort of, well, when you're Wolf Link, you're going to dash because it's faster and you don't really have anything else to do. And it's like, that's all well and good. No hate to speed games where it's a little more clear cut like that in a lot of cases, but Metroid Dread is, because it's so many actions per minute, you just kind of have to go, and so whatever's optimal matters a little bit less because it's all going so fast. The time scale you're working on is so small, and I really like that about it. Anyway, just got an item.
I know you I wanted to point out. So that was the sequence break.
Yeah. Me doing that shenanigans in the water with the whole space jumping over and over. That was a very important sequence break.
Yeah. So with space jump, that's why you had to pick up early in order to get through attack. The way it works is if you rub against the wall, as you saw DTail doing with Samus, rubbing against the wall, the ledge, kind of gives a little extra height when you reactivate the space jump. So by manipulating that, you can actually get up that ledge.
No. It's a similar glitch, actually. It's really the same thing, just in a different context, as a bunch of things that we've already done, mostly earlier in the game. Adam's save skip, we used the melee attack to push ourselves against a wall to get into this little corner where we can't normally be. For Maga's skip, we did a similar thing where we actually push ourselves backwards against a wall that's behind Samus. And a couple other tricks where we also do that sort of thing. The walls in this game are sort of weird. They're not really static objects exactly. Like, they've got, basically their collision is like uneven most of the time, and so you can, when you rub on them, you can abuse that to sort of push yourself in one direction or the other. And so depending on the context, you need more or less movement, and so you're going to do melee attacks or just a spin attack or spin jump or whatever. But it's all more or less the same principle, where the walls are just uneven to the point where you can kind of grind on the slopes even when you can't see that there are slopes, basically. Yeah. It's a very cool thing, and it makes a lot of difference in a lot of rooms in this run, even just for like less trick things and more just like little room strats. There's a lot of times where it's like knowing the shape of the wall or the shape of the floor is like gonna help you with sort of figuring out the movement. It's very interesting, and again, that plays into the whole expression where just you have this one particular wall that's shaped like this, and you know how to deal with that better than I do, and you have a different way of doing it, and it's super cool. I love this game.
Yeah, so many ways to do things in this game. It's nice.
Really, really awesome.
By the way, that was another sequence break, because then you're supposed to grab an item below, which is the I don't know why they call it like it's the double jump basically, but you already have space jump anyway.
No, we skipped
Um,
that basically when we grabbed space jump. Yeah.
Yeah, but the next item to grab here is very important, and
Yep.
good luck with this Shine Spark puzzle here.
Yeah, I'm gonna focus on this one. So if you have anything to say, please feel free.
Yeah. All right. So this is one of the intended not intended, but this is one of the Shine Spark puzzles. It kind of teaches you, or actually is a combination, kind of like a combination of what you've learned about space jump. Oh, not space jump. Sorry, speed booster, and how to Shine Spark. So here we go. See.
Got it.
Very nice. So
And I got the fast one too.
yeah. So you notice that you can actually redo your Shine Spark right there. Like you slide and then you can charge your Shine Spark, and then you go up the slope and you charge it again and stuff, and it's so cool.
It is very cool. That's the last time that we're really gonna see any sort of cool speed booster movement like that from me. There's a couple more places in the run where you can do some, but I'm not generally going to because I haven't learned that particular location yet, or I just struggle with that strat, and so I prefer to do the safer thing. So unfortunately, that's the last time we're seeing anything that flashy, but it is very cool. Now for Magic Pancakes.
Gravity suit. In my opinion, I don't know about anybody else, but this is the best suit design.
It's
ever.
so cool. We're not really gonna get to have a good look at it because I'm gonna do so much shifting around and jumping and stuff, but it's got these frills on the shoulders that are like really cool looking. I'm actually gonna pick that up just to be sure.
I like the green lightning that goes down the side of like
the lighting on it is super good. We're not gonna get to see a lot of that because I'm gonna be into screw attack so much, but yeah. So right here, you might recognize these guys. We fought against just an iron one as well as a golden one before, but now we're fighting two golden ones at once. So this is a bit of a step up. They still just kind of die, especially now that we have the screw attack. The screw attack does a ridiculous amount of damage, even if it does hurt you on contact with bosses. It does so much damage. They just die so fast. So that's all good. And we're actually doing this out of order, right? We did a sequence break to get here by getting the screw attack early. That allowed us to break open some screw attack blocks to get here, which we're not supposed to yet. And so what that means is we actually did the encounter with two golden robots before we did the encounter with one iron and one golden robot. That's going to come up a lot later. I'm going to have some water.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so right after you grab
Everybody in
gravity
chat, stay hydrated.
I wanted to make a note that once you grab gravity suit, it's all about now just rushing to beat the game, and you're actually going to be doing some sort of like boss rush, I want to say.
A little, yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to fight, well, you fought that one boss right there, and then you're going to fight this boss over here.
Yeah, figured. Dang.
Yeah, so I'm going to let you concentrate on this one here.
Oh, yeah, I don't actually go for the double spark here, so it's not that bad. I used to do it, and I was okay at it, but in my D-Rust recently, it's been going very poorly. So I might try it if I see an easy pattern, but it's unlikely. So you're fine to keep talking. Let's try it. Yeah, figures.
It's okay.
I should be standing on the ground probably, but either way, like we said before many times, Shine Sparks do a lot of damage. So we're going to try to use Shine Sparks on this boss as well. And this particular boss, there's actually a lot of room to run around. So if you set it up right and put Golzuna, because that's its name, all the way in the corner, so you have a little more room to work, you can actually charge your Shine Spark in here. And so that's great, because then you can hit her with a Shine Spark again and do even more massive damage. And it's great. So that's also what I did right there to actually kill the Corex that was infecting Golzuna. Corex is very small, so you get a lot of room to work. With Golzuna, it's a little trickier. You have to actually set it up. Luckily, she always does that charging attack at the start, so it's fairly consistent. I just haven't really put enough time into the strat recently to get it just now, but that's okay.
So picked up Crossbomb, and Crossbomb is like one of the most, it's kind of a finicky item, honestly, because like sometimes you have it, you're here to discuss.
Don't even.
So like for example, you just holding like the R button to shoot it or like land it, or I'm sorry, lay it. and then all of a sudden it's just a regular bomb, and you're like, no, I'm holding the R button. Come on.
Press the
And then,
button,
yeah,
come on, game.
yeah, come on, game.
And on top of that, you're supposed to use the cross bombs to like, with the multiple explosions that it sends out, you can like propel yourself forward over gaps and stuff. But that's really, really janky. The engine really doesn't want to work with you half the time, and so sometimes you
Yeah.
just fall and you don't know why, and it's really sad. On top of that, and this is even in the vanilla game when we're not sequence breaking too hard, this is still mostly true. You only really need cross bombs like 3 times. In this run, 2 times. And it's just like, it's a whole ass item, but it really doesn't do much. Luckily for us though, it does do a lot of damage. And so if you weave it into the way that you're dealing with a boss, then you can actually get a lot of extra damage out of a cross bomb, which we're going to be using only against the final boss in the end, because it's not actually all that useful against most of the others. But
By the way, I want to point out that DTail just did the reverse grapple. So technically, you're supposed to
another
grapple.
sequence break.
Yeah, you're supposed to grapple from the left side of that block, but if you do the same kind of trick as the pseudo wave, then you can actually pass the grapple beam to that left side of that block, and that's why we call it the reverse grapple.
It's shenanigans with the fact that the game is actually in 3D. So you can sort of jam the grapple beam through the backside of the block where there's nothing blocking your way. Well, the front side of the block is blocked by, well, the block, but the backside is open, basically. And so by rotating Samus the way that I did, you can just kind of get it right in there and move on. So it's pretty cool. It's a lot more useful of a glitch in a lot of other categories where there's more grapple blocks to do that with that you care about, like Undo, for instance.
Yeah.
But in this category, this is the only time we're going to be seeing that. Hi, Fairy.
Oh, Fairy, nice. But you called.
Oh,
you
no, bad
Oh, no,
pattern.
no.
Dang it. I just have to
Wait.
wait. This is a shame.
Oh, hopefully.
Open the door.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh my gosh, that was scary.
I was not so worried about that. It's just, sometimes he does that, but it's not the biggest deal. Fairy's whole thing is that he can see you through walls, and he also has way more range than any of the other Emmys. And on top of that, he shoots out these little paralyzing projectiles at really long range that also go through walls. So, like, theoretically he's pretty annoying, but he also moves really, really slowly, so it's just kind of, yeah, whatever. A lot of the time you can just stand a decent ways away from him and he'll just de-aggro after a couple seconds. Oh, do need a speed boost here.
Yep, so this is SQ, another annoying boss, to be honest, but with this setup right here, very nice. And then all you have to do is
I didn't get the fast
attack.
Oh, well, I got a little bit of the fast strat. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's okay. So screw attack does a lot of damage to bosses too. So like, just do screw attack right here 3 times, and boom, done.
So that's going to give us the Storm Missile. We mentioned this briefly earlier. Because we're sequence breaking so heavily, we didn't pick this up when we were supposed to, which would have been like 4 items ago. Well, not quite 4. 3 items ago.
At least.
But we really don't need it for anything, because just like the super missiles earlier, the storm missiles are really a glorified door opener. They're not really good for killing anything or anything else. We just need them to press these buttons to blow up those blocks like that. So we didn't really need to get them until now, when there's a couple of those blocks in our way that we have to get rid of in order to beat the game. If it weren't for those, if we could find like a way to clip through them or something, we just wouldn't get this item. We would just move on. But unfortunately, we need to go down here. And it's, yeah, it is what it is. There's 2 more later, I think 2 more. No, oh dear. Okay, still got it. It's fine. That was very scary for a second. When he pushed me off the ledge. It was very silly. All right, but it's fine. So this is that fight I was talking about, where it's 1 iron and 1 golden robot. This is obviously a lot easier than 2 golden, because there's just less health to get through overall. So they die really quickly, especially because on this fight, we actually have enough room at the start to get a Shine Spark going into the fight. So we can get through a large portion of that first robot's health very quickly, which we couldn't do for the 2 goldens. So that's very nice. That fight's really not very difficult at all. Oh, shoot. I thought that would reach. No, let me just... There.
There you go.
So, yeah, that fight goes by very quickly, and now we're just heading through these cold areas. We didn't see too much of cold areas throughout the game. They're basically just like heat areas where you take continuous damage. But in this case, it's the gravity suit that prevents that damage, not the Varia suit. And so we did have to damage tank through a couple cold rooms back when we were heading towards getting the screw attack, which is what we needed at least 2 E-tanks for.
And bye.
Oh, I forgot. I'm stupid.
Yeah, I was about to say. You can.
I only lost like 2 seconds because the plasma beam does a lot of damage. But still, you're supposed to, after you Shine Spark the armor off of it, you're supposed to just hit it with the screw attack, which kills it in 1 hit. So that would have been a little faster. Whoopsie.
You're in the zone. It's all good.
I'm in the zone. You don't even know. I'm so relaxed right now. No, so right here, you know, we killed another central unit. We're gonna go kill this Emmy. You know the drill. In this case, this whole like maze of stuff is, yeah, it's. Thank you, wide beam boxes, for being a functional part of Metroid Dread. Anyway, this section is a little annoying because there's not a lot of like good, safe places to set up the robot. There's a very wide variety of strats to do here, a lot of which involve sort of jumping around and really doing a tango with Fairy. And so it's very dicey, right? This is one of the hardest enemies to kill fast. But luckily, there's also a couple really safe strats. Like, the safest thing to do is just to get all the way through this tunnel, all the way on the top left there. And then you can just stand and shoot, and you don't even need to aim, because your gun will be perfectly lined up with Fairy's face as he's walking towards you. So you can just stand there. In this case, it's a little bit dicier where he's closer to you, and you do have to aim, but it's still pretty easy and safe, and it's fine. So that's what I like to do. Anyway, Fairy's whole shtick was looking through walls, and so we are going to get the ability to shoot through walls now. So we will no longer need our pseudo-wave glitch, which is named after the wave beam item, which allows us to shoot through walls. So we're going to have a lot easier time of this now, because we can reach enemies anywhere on screen. If you are on screen, we can shoot. That is all that matters. And B, we can open wave beam doors, which we're going to need to beat the game, which again is really the only reason we're getting this item. It also does do a lot more damage than the plasma beam, but because really the main thing left at this point is the final boss, which it would be better to use missiles for anyway. The damage isn't the biggest deal. So, well, yeah, that's assuming you don't weave, by the way, but yeah.
There's 3 more bosses. So
yeah,
technically,
there are
2 mini bosses. And
exactly. The last thing is there's these 2 more Chozo soldiers, and so for that, the wave beam damage increase is actually really nice. I don't think it quite makes up for it, though. Like, theoretically, if the wave beam doors were just plasma beam doors, I don't think we would go grab this. I'm pretty sure. Because that would be a decent amount of time loss for that. But all the same, right? We're gonna grab it, because we need it.
Yeah, especially in this category, so.
Yeah, exactly. Is there a way around this in unrestricted?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. I know nothing about unrestricted, I'll be honest.
Yeah, unrestricted, by the way, for those who don't know, is basically you just use all the glitches that are available to you. Anyway, I'll just focus on this fight.
Yeah, so this is just another mini-boss like we've seen before. This is one of those X-infected Chozo soldiers. We fought one of these back in Elon. But this one, he's red, and so you know what that means. He's got more health and he does more damage. And he's got a wider variety of attacks, too. Also because he's got a shield. Got a big fancy red shield. It's super cool looking, but it's not going to help him too much, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. We kill this guy the same way that we killed the last one. It just takes a little bit longer. I'm going to slurp him up like a milkshake. Very good. If I'd taken any damage there, that cutscene would have healed it off. Would have healed it off. There we go.
Fully healed you.
Now we get our, well, pretty much our last main upgrade. This is the last real upgrade, basically, which is the power bombs, and they're coming in super late, and it's a little weird casually too, because casually you can still go clean up, obviously, if you're not just going for any percent. You can just go grab all the other items that you need the power bombs for, but if you're not going to go off to do that, then you get power bombs like 10 minutes before the end. And it's a little strange, but it's fine. Power bombs, they blow up power bomb blocks. It's a big scary explosion, but we only have 2 of them. So I'm going to do a clever little farm here where I shoot those robots before my power bomb explodes. Because if the power bomb explodes and kills them, then enemies that are killed by a power bomb can't drop any power bombs. But if I shoot them with my wave beam just before the power bomb goes off, then they can, and I can get a refill without needing to step on this statue right here, which would otherwise do it. So that's a little bit faster.
You may notice that, I mean, I know this is a little like trick there, or a little time save. Ball sparking there saves a little bit time RTA.
Yep. Alright, and one more X-Infected Chozo Soldier for us. This guy does a lot of damage to where, like, he's actually kind of scary. He's still really easy to dodge, but if I do mess up, it's real bad. So I'm going to be pretty careful against this guy. Just touching him does a full E-tank of damage, and getting hit by one of his actual attacks does 2. So I only actually have, like, 4 hit points for this fight. But luckily for us, it's already over.
Look at that. Yeah, it's over. Yeah,
none of
like,
these are really a threat.
That's what's neat about Turbo too. Like you can just like really kill these enemies super fast.
It's crazy.
Yeah, all the enemies that you need to mash against, those are the ones that like go by fairly quickly.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit sad about that sometimes, where it's like I don't really get to sort of do as much in those fights in a sense. But it's so much better for my hands, because if I were actually trying to get good at this game and killing the bosses as fast as possible, then one of the things I will need to learn is mashing really fucking fast with my little fingies, and that's not good for my little fingies, so I don't want to do that. So very glad that we have this rule where we just have it listed on speedrun.com, like did use turbo, did not use turbo, so you can split for them if you're interested to compare one or the other. But you're allowed to do whichever, and there's a couple rules about how your turbo needs to be set up and stuff, but it's all pretty straightforward, and it's very nice. I'm quite happy we've got that. So we use our last power bomb. Hopefully, if the final boss is kind, that will be the last power bomb, but he might not be.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna keep quiet for this, except for the start.
Sure.
I'm gonna count out loud if you don't mind, Keiko.
Yeah. So there's the Adam skip. Adam.
1, 2, 3,
It's mad.
7, 8. Was that 7 or 8? Shit.
You said 8.
I said 8, but I honestly don't know for sure. I'm gonna just leave him for a second. I'm praying that I did hit 9 already. I think I did, but I'm not totally confident. The thing about this is we're trying to set up. Oh, well, never mind. Okay. That's unfortunate, but it's fine. We're trying to set up. I did get it too. That's the worst part. Oh no. We're trying to set up a very particular amount of damage on the boss so that we can hit him with turbo gunfire in these cutscenes. Wait, that still worked? Are you serious? Oh my god. Okay, well, never mind. I did not know it was that lean. Wow.
Yeah. So basically, we're trying to do the gold phase skip. Gold phase is like phase 1.5 of this fight. When Ravenbeak is in the gold phase, basically Ravenbeak is invulnerable, so you have to wait.
Nice right now.
Yeah. So in this, so this phase right here is actually fairly straightforward. Just keep shooting missiles and stuff. You have to dodge the attacks that he had, and boom, right there, third phase. This right here,
nope.
Very, very interesting pattern so far. The combo melee, and then this is the part where.
Oh yeah. Shit! I messed up big time.
It's okay. It's okay.
Well, I dodged it though. We moved.
What's nice too though is that when you use that power one against the sun, you
Hey, I got the damage tank thing on the black sun. Very nice.
Very nice, and that melee that you just did a melee cancel. So that skipped the cutscene or like the whole animation cutscene. However, if you do get it in the first attack of the phase, and you can mash away, and then that actually saves a little bit more time on the fight.
I'm not doing this fight very well right now, but it's fine.
You're almost done. There you go. See?
It is done, but it could have been a bit faster, but that's all right.
Well,
we got a couple more cutscenes, but
yeah, the third phase was not favorable to you, but you managed to peel through, so it's all good.
It was pretty bad RNG, but I also just made a lot of really bad decisions. I'll be honest. It's fine though. We just
Alright.
got this one little thing to do. There is a little time saver in this sequence, but I don't actually know how to do it, so I'm just gonna ignore it. And also, so I don't, as we say, pull a Keku.
Oh gosh.
There's a very famous clip of Keku in this sequence where you thought you were pressing the gun button, but you weren't, or like not the whole way through anyway. And so you ended up actually getting eaten here, which all you have to do is hold the gun button. It's not the fastest way to do it, but it is perfectly safe. And so you thought you were, but you weren't, and you got eaten, and you just looked at the screen and just went like, what?
No, I'm pressing the wrong button. Yeah, I lost a minute.
It was very sad because that was a pretty good run otherwise, but it's a brilliant moment.
You can laugh at me, it's fine.
It was so good. I remember I did a marathon run of this category last year at the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering, and I made a joke about it then, just like sitting there in the chair, because this was an in-person marathon, and I said like, I don't remember what I said, but it doesn't matter. I said something about you in that cutscene, and it was just like funny, haha. But then I went back and I watched the VOD for it because I wanted to have a look at the run and all that. And then I saw that you were actually in chat at that time, and so when I said that, you went like, it was so good. It got a chuckle out of me back in my hotel room there. It was very good, very funny. This is at like 1 a.m. mind you. Like I just did my run and I'm just like dead tired sitting there, and I watched this run back, and it's so good.
Yeah, you did.
Anyway, we're really overpowered right now. We have the hyper beam here. Oh wait, hang on, I'm doing
the Metroid suit and whatnot.
And the Metroid suit, so we can't take damage. When stuff touches us, it dies, and we have this big stupid laser of death that blows everything
up soon, by the way.
Yeah, time will be now. I should have probably mentioned that. My bad. But that's fine. The timing for this run was already a bit of a mess anyway, with my whole trouble at the start there, but it's fine.
Great job, though. Great job, really.
Yeah, that was honestly a pretty couple big bad things, but on the whole, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the time on that? I actually have a... No, I don't have a timer up. Never mind.
Timer was a little bit nebulous because of what happened at the beginning.
But I know roughly how long we were paused, so... I'm wondering how long it was, but I'll have a look at it later. I can retime it anyway.
My stream says 126.50 with an added bump that we added.
Wow. That's actually a very good run then, because the bump was like just short of a minute and a half. It's just like a 125. Nice, not bad. For reference, my personal best in this category is 123.48, I think? 123 something. So like, that's pretty close. I'll take that. All right.
Yeah. That was a fantastic run.
Samus blowing up a planet, as always. And I think that will be all for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your expertise as well as Kekimetri's.
Thank you.
Are there any shoutouts that you'd like to give out in addition to where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, both of us stream right here on Twitch under these exact handles, so that's pretty easy to find. Beyond that, I don't really do any social media, so no. But yeah, no, thanks for having us. This was a blast, and good luck with the last little bit of the event. Good luck to Joshi on the rando in a minute. Very excited for that.
Show you yourself. Oh, okay. Well, I think we'll turn it over to a break there then. This will be the end of my very short hosting shift, but I will see you all at the very end. I'll see you all at the very end when I make my final statements. So I'll turn it over to Pippi as host, and I'll see you very soon.